plate, or it can be relaxed and become more bulbous, like an orb. And there's something that our eyes do, and I was tested on this recently, where we do this accommodation test. And if you've ever been to the optometrist, I'm sure you've probably done this. Or maybe your primary care physician has done this for you, where you have something out about 2 feet away and you bring it close, and your eyes are supposed to converge, and pupils are supposed to constrict and everything. But your lens, when the ciliary body is contracted, it allows make sure I don't get this wrong. It allows your lens to be pulled tight for seeing farther away. And then it relaxes, and your lens becomes more bulbous to take in light that's right in your face, to take in that light. So that's called accommodation. And the reason I bring this up is it's kind of like perspective. When you're in it and things are right in front of you and then they're hitting you in the face, we have that muscle just contracted. We're contracted, we're responding. And then once we're kind of out of the storm of what is happening around us, we're able to relax that muscle, and our lens becomes more taut, and we're able to see farther. We're able to see deeper into what that whole experience was actually showing us. And that's kind of how perspective works. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. My buddy Trinidad, who I do all my labs with, he's my lab partner. There's a thing on our sheet called presbyopia. Do you know what presbyopia is? It's kind of the tunnel vision that comes with age, really. But anybody over 40, you're supposed to check for presbyopia. And so I'm almost 40, so he gives me grief. Because everybody I go to school with is like young, in their 20s. So he's like, he wrote it in the flashcards. He's like, presbyopia, a.k.a. John. I'm like, I have 20/15 vision, bro. But anyways, so that's a running joke that we have. So we're talking about the power of your perspective. What is perspective? Perspective is our lens. It's the lens on how we view the world, how we view ourselves, how we view others, how we view our experiences, how we view life, how we view beyond life. And so this makes it a very personal thing. It's very personal to each one of us. You have a unique perspective. Phyllis, you have a unique perspective. Mike, you have a unique perspective. Because nobody else has walked your path. Nobody else has been in your point of view as long as you have. And so you have developed this perspective on that whole gambit of what is life, from inside here to all the external, and that's unique to you. And that's a powerful thing. And maybe you hadn't thought about that. I just thought I'd share that with you today. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. Where, when, how we were raised. I know I was raised in the Midwest, which is very different than the West Coast. Was anybody else raised somewhere outside of Tahoe? Yeah, you were? Where were you? East Coast. Any East Coasters? Okay, so you probably share a similar perspective on certain things. Kim, where were you raised? Oh my gosh, okay. Manitoba, all right. David, did you? New York, okay. East Coasters? Michigan, all right. Michiganders, nice. UP or no? Okay. I grew up in Iowa. So, cornfields as far as the eye can see. Which makes me corny, which is okay. What about you, Dixie? San Diego, okay. So I'm sure there's some of you in here that were born all over California as well. I know Mike is a native Californian, but we don't hold that against him. Okay. Our parents, when we're young, we're given perspective. Perspective can be given to us through our parents and through our teachers. And as we get older, and we get to experience more, and we learn more about the world, and we experience more. We kind of compare and contrast what our parents have given us and what our teachers growing up have given us, and we develop our own, what I like to call earned perspective. And I really cherish my earned perspective because it's deep-seated in me through personal experiences, traumas, successes, people that I've connected with, and it's very sacred to me because it's shaped how I see the world now. Not that my parents and my teachers growing up didn't do a good job, but that was given to me. And I have to take that with a grain of salt because that comes through their lens, the lens of their truth at that time. And there's a lot of things that can influence our perspective in time. We have these chronic things where we were raised, which part of the country, which culture our family identified with, our experiences. But also there's current things such as mood. You ever, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. So people that know me very well can probably tell when I'm in a foul mood. And you're not going to, Cindy, you know if I'm in a bad mood. You're not going to come up and be like, John, what are your thoughts on life today? It's not the time to ask me because my mood is filtering the truth that I know. And so that's something to think about when you're sharing with other people. And that's a opportunity for us to have compassion for other people and to have empathy. Say, yeah, this person's not having the best time right now. And they're not able to stretch out their lens and see the scope. They're in it. Their lens is very thick right now. They're taking in all this light that's really close. They're taking all these hits. And that's an opportunity to have compassion for people. And I always look for those opportunities. And that's an important thing. Our belief systems. Our belief systems on the whole, the whole of the world, the thing that we have across continents and across cultures are beliefs about life, about God, spirit, mother, and also about the beyond, what happens beyond. And we come together on a lot of that. And if you look at all the major religions of the world, there's certain truths that shine through in all of them. But then there's also uniqueness in all of those too, based on culture and years and years and years of shaping how they lived and how they've grown as a people. And so that's an opportunity to have compassion as well. I feel like everybody in this room is pretty open-minded to all the religions of the world and the good that can spring forth from each one of them. And that's a very powerful thing. And you have that power. So my overarching point in this whole talk is that your perspective is unique to you. No one else has it. You can share a perspective with someone, but your perspective is powerful in that your experiences and your path have shaped your lens. I like to think of it as, if you think of the lens as kind of like a moldable piece of glass. That's not what it is in our eye, but I think about it like that, in that it can be molded, and it can be shaped. It can be scarred, and it can be scratched up. It can be fine-tuned and honed, and the curvature can become more precise so that you can refract light in a different way. And the light that's inside of you, and also all the external world, can be shown through you. So if you're able to keep your lens transparent, keep it clear, you can share a powerful perspective with the world, with every person that you meet. We're all accustomed to the idea of being the mirrors for people, showing them the world by interacting with us. What I see in you is also in me, type thing. But we can also be transparent lenses, allowing the light of truth to shine through us. And it's very powerful. And this is what makes shared perspective so powerful. Have you ever been we're in a group session right now, but have you ever been in like a group therapy setting? What makes those so powerful? It's because there's a shared perspective. There's a meditation going on. Meditation is concentration, precision, precise concentration on one thing or nothing. So when you get together, I know Mike and I have been in men's group, Al and I have been in men's groups together, and it's very powerful. Take for instance like an AA meeting. It's very powerful in that each person has looked at that part of life and experienced something with that particular thing and come together and they share on it. You share your perspective on it, and you share your perspective on it. And it's powerful because I can take the nuggets of wisdom from her, and I can take them from her, and it allows me to share the truth that I know about it. But you kind of have to come to that space humbly, with humility. You have to be able to own your own path and say, this is what I experienced, and not hold shame around it. You can, but let go and share for the good of the group, for the good of yourself. And it's a growth thing. And it's very powerful. Shared perspectives are very powerful, good or bad. This is what I hear a lot as a dad. I see a lot on the internet about creating core memories with your kids. And Luke and I create a lot of core memories. We go skiing. We do lots of adventuring. But those core memories, we're going to be able to look back one day and say, hey, do you remember this? I can do that right now with my dad. My dad is really interesting. You get him on a fishing boat fishing, he becomes like a world-class storyteller. I'm just like, okay, yeah, like you never shared that. You never shared that before. It's crazy. My dad, I kid you not, it takes 7 hours to drive from my house up to the cabin that we have in Minnesota, northern Minnesota. He doesn't like to listen to the radio. I don't know how I'm a musician. He doesn't like to listen to the radio. We will sit and listen to wind for 7 hours, unless I'm talking. And then we get him on the boat, and he's chatty Cathy, won't be quiet. He talks the whole time. It's amazing. But it's a safe space for him. So you can find that safe space between people, and you can share your perspectives. And that's a powerful thing. Perspective can bring unity. It can bring people together, like I just talked about. Throughout the world, we can share experiences and have a shared perspective. I think everybody who has a life at some point develops their own earned perspective on, this is what I think life is, this is what I think death is. Okay. We should all be able to kind of do that because we're experiencing it. But it can also create division too. Our uniqueness breeds difference. But as long as we're able to come together and talk and share and be open and hear and listen, then it's okay. We can be different. That's our beauty. But we got to be able to have the conversations, have the hard conversations. It's not always easy. Jesus was a uniter. He was a uniter on perspective. He brought the world a perspective that I don't think a lot of them had thought of. And I think he spoke a lot of truth to people. It had to speak to their hearts, because otherwise I don't feel like Jesus would have been as potent as he was. And he was quite potent. Even beyond. So we're entering into Holy Week. So in unity, we always try to think about our Christ consciousness, that consciousness that lived inside of Jesus and lived through Jesus, lives inside of each of you. And that's why I want to talk about the power of your perspective, because you can be on the donkey coming into Jerusalem and sharing your perspective with the world, as long as your lens is clear and you're speaking truth from your heart. Every interaction you take, you experience from this day forth, remember that, because it's powerful. Your words have power. That person that needs to see you smile needs to see you smile. The person that needs a hug needs a hug. You got to be open enough to give it to them. Our perspectives change throughout life. The perspectives I held as a child have shifted and grown and matured. And I know cultures in our past were very respectful of elders for this reason, because they had seen the most and they had experienced the most time. And that translated to wisdom, but it also translated to perspective. They had a broad perspective of seeing cycles and patterns and not making rash decisions and knowing what was overall chronically the best for their people in making decisions. And I don't want us to get away from that. I feel like we've gotten away from that a little bit. So remember to respect your elders in their perspective, because they have seen a lot. And I tend to gravitate towards older folks in my life. I have a lot of friends that are in their 60s and 70s and 80s, and I love it. I love chatting with them. I love sharing with them. I love listening and hearing and proposing things that I'm going through and hearing their perspectives on it, because it allows me to get out of my own head about it. I know I did this when I was considering chiropractic school. I have a son that I'd love to see every day, and I don't get to. But I made that choice. But I'm doing it with the perspective of down the road, I'm going to be able to be there for him in a different way, in a better way. But I had a lot of people that I went to with that decision. Hey, do you think this is right? And people with more perspective than me said, yes, do it. And that was powerful. That was very potent for me. Are you guys all familiar with the play 12 Angry Men, or the movie? Right, okay. What it should be called is 12 middle-aged men in a hot room who don't want to be there and have to make a tough decision. But it's a great example of different perspectives coming together and having to unify. They have to choose to either convict or acquit a young man who has murdered his abusive father. But none of them was there in real time. They're part of a jury that hears the case, and they have different witness testimonies. And each one of these men's life experience and perspective comes to the surface. Even though right away, 11 of them were basically ready to be like, let's convict and get out of here. There was one juror, Henry Fonda's character, if you know the old film. I think it was Jack Lemmon's character in the newer film. Had integrity. And what do I mean by that? He wasn't able to take that decision lightly and condemn a young man in, the matter of 10 minutes of discussing this case. He prompted each one of them to consider certain things, to go deeper. And it was powerful. And slowly, he allowed more truth to be revealed within them and within the case and about the case. And the final juror, I think it was juror number 11, it was Lee Cobb's character. He was very adamant that this kid was guilty. But at the end of it, it was revealed that his own son had done him wrong in some way, shape, or form. And so he was using his own perspective, his own lens on a son's relationship with himself to convict this other young man, basically on the grounds of resentment and spite and hurt. And it's a very powerful film. I recommend seeing it if you like that kind of thing. It's a very powerful example of different perspectives having to come together and make one decision as a group. And I feel like integrity and time are the two powerful factors in that. So, don't take your perspective lightly. You've earned it. All of your successes, all of your joys, all of your traumas, everything that you've experienced, keep your lens clear and shine through and share your truth. Share the truth of the world with the younger people, with people your age, people older, but really with people younger than you, because that's what we have to do to evolve and grow into unity. So, thank you so much for being here. Happy Palm Sunday to you. I hope you have a good Easter. I probably won't see you on Easter. Be good to yourselves, and we'll see you next time.